What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cardboard Cast. This is episode 7. I am your host, Will, as usual, and we have officially moved from the podcast platforms over to YouTube. So this is our first episode on YouTube. We recorded it a couple weeks ago. The editing's taken a little bit longer than we would have liked to get it up, but here it is. I still think there's relevant information for your ProQuest moving forward. We're right in the middle of the season, so there's still some information to be had here. Drop us a note in the comments if you have any ideas or ways that we can improve this. We'd love to bring you content that you are looking for, so let us know and enjoy the show. Sweet. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Cardboard Cast. As usual, I'm your host, Will, joined by my co-host, Jordan. On with us today, our buddy, Joe, who plays Viserai, which is a pretty hot topic right now. So we're gonna dive into some of the current meta, talk Viz a little bit as we roll into ProQuest season. We're recording this on the first day of ProQuest. This is Saturday, February 19th. I don't know if it's going to come out later today. It might be tomorrow, but definitely at the beginning of ProQuest season here. So I'm just going to kind of take it easy. Yeah, Jordan, we'll start with you. What's been going on, man?
Not too much. Just been trying to get as much testing in as I can in the short amount of time we have. But yeah, looking forward to ProQuest and then hopefully a few more tournaments down the road. So trying to get that all in.
Planning on rolling to a few of those?
Yeah, at least the two in town. We'll see if I can make time for any of the other ones down the road.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I think, so in town for us is Roanoke, and we've got Star City games, we've got Blade games. There are, I think, like 8 within 3 hours driving distance from us. I know one of our other locals who travels around to a lot of the events is going to at least 8. I think there's more if you bump it up to like 4 or 5 hour driving radius, but there's a good bit. Yeah. I'm going to 4 of them myself. How about you, Joe?
Just tomorrow's at Blade.
The Blade,
yeah. So I got to make it count.
Well, I think you will, man.
I think we've been
Viserai is pretty spicy.
I think we're pretty lucky to be having 2 ProQuests back to back in town. That's awesome.
Yeah,
for sure.
This weekend at Blade and then next weekend at SCG. And you and I chatted a little bit before this. This will be your first competitive. Is it pro level? I guess not, right? They've made this casual, or is it pro?
I'm not sure.
I'll have to look that
up.
It
is competitive REL.
It is, okay. Yeah, ProQuest is in the name of the thing, so I would imagine it's a pro level event.
Right. Right.
I would have to look that up to be sure. But yeah, how you feeling about it going into it? You ready?
A bit nervous. It's only going to be my 3rd Flesh and Blood event, and then this one will definitely be the sweatiest.
Yep.
The first one I did was the Tales of Aria pre-release. I did not do well in that. Sealed is not my thing. And then the last one was the skirmish last season at Blade. But that was fun. So nice. I'm excited, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna need to get the jitters out after that first game. Yeah,
they might get you a little bit. There's going to be so many people there on so many different decks too. I think this meta is kind of there are probably some clear-ish kind of winners in this meta, but I have a feeling we're going to see a much wider spread of heroes, and probably heroes doing well too than we did in like the RTN season, the last season.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be much different than just doing a Tails Sealed. Tails Sealed is pretty specific.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts, Jordan?
I do think that this season, quote unquote, is probably more open than we were doing as far as the first RTN season. I think the first week of the new meta, I think, is going to be a little standoffish as far as what's viable right now. But like you said, as we go along, I think more deck choices are going to open up to everyone.
Yeah. I'll be running with the main man, Boltyn. Always sticking with Boltyn.
Sure.
I had considered the new Bravo, who everyone's calling Starvo. I considered that. I think that is going to be a really strong deck, but I'm anticipating that we see a lot of Prism, and I think Boltyn is a really good matchup for Prism. Boltyn has fared pretty well into Starvo from the testing that I've done. Viserai, though, I don't know. Runeblades always seem to have an easier time defeating Boltyn than the other way around, so I'm kind of nervous about it. And I'm not planning on doing Sabers, so that's not... I don't have like the combo race against Viserai. It's just like mid-range, and I think Vis can out mid-range Boltyn.
Yeah, we did the one episode where we did 2 games, and I definitely learned to not try to OTK. I did, when I rewatched that video, I did realize I made a mistake, and I think it was just because at that point my head was out of that game, but I should have kept the Sonata and then still tried to combo to see what I could do. But yeah, I definitely, if I go up against any Boltyns, I will be going the mid-range route, because I know you guys need to keep your hand so when I can threaten the on-hits with consuming it, makes it tricky. That's the hope when I go up against a Boltyn.
Yeah, yep.
Are you
definitely.
maining the mid-range plane right now, or are you still maining OTK?
OTK is my main, I guess. I'm more comfortable with it. I've done more, just like, I guess it's called gold fishing, where you just kind of practice the lines.
Sure.
The deck I have, I don't know if it's necessarily the most optimal with everything that's come out with Everfest, but after Matt Rogers did his Vis list in that Nationals event, the hybrid started really showing me different things instead of just trying to push aggro. So I ended up looking at Hayden Dale's list and then Matt Rogers' list, and I came up with a core 48 cards, and then I have 2 12-card sideboard options for the OTK route or the more mid-range route. But the sideboard guide I've made, it looks like it's a little more OTK, and then there's, as far as the hero spread, more of them I'll go OTK than mid-range, but some of them, I've done play testing with Tim. We did one where he played Dory just to switch up the game plan. I did go the OTK route, but I had to just build up Rune Chance and then just go with the Sonata and try and go as wide as I could without doing the Sonata combo, just because I couldn't hold out much longer and stay in the game. I was able to pull out the win on that game, but it's definitely more of a build up and then have a powerful turn, not necessarily combo if I can't get the Sonata. So some of the matchups might be that route. I think Katsu probably would be similar. Just block as best I can, build up, and then from what I can tell, you just have to go by the game. If you think you can hold off until you can find the Sonata, go for it. But if you don't think you can do another turn and you got decent attacks in hand, go for it.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
Are you thinking? I don't know if I haven't played Viz, so I don't know if it depends on which way you're trying to play the deck. But if you win the die roll, are you going first or second?
Always first.
Always first. So out of the gate race, just try and create as many rune chains on the first turn as you can.
Yeah, I'll look at my hand. I'll assess if it makes more sense to pitch into grasp to fix my hand or play out what I have, see what I have maybe for arsenaling, and kind of make a plan from there.
If you lose the die roll and the opponent goes first, what are you hoping that they do?
Just depends on the hand and the opponent. If it's Starvo and they're activating Starvo, I'm hoping it's not an Oakenhold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll block with what I need to, what I'm able to, depending on if it's dominated or not, and things like that. It really comes down to just what the hand has.
Cool. Yep. Who are you rolling with, Jordan?
Well, I was on Starvo for the last couple of days, but I think with the testing that I just got done doing, I think I'm back on good old Oldhim, honestly.
Are you?
Yeah.
Tell me about the testing that you've been doing.
Well, I ran into a lot of Starvo and Lexi at Blade, which I think Lexi is a good counter to Starvo. So, and honestly, the mirrors, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of counterplay to it. Honestly, it's kind of just who fuses the most often is able to drop down either Crippling or Oakenhold first, and then just go from there. So I think Oldham's got or game into that, and it also has a decent Lexi matchup as well. So I'm kind of banking on the opposite of you, Will, as far as not wanting to run into the Prism and then just trying to dodge that matchup at all costs.
Yep. So I know that you had switched up your list quite a bit so that you could deal with Prism, but it kind of hurt some of your other matchups. Are you back to the list that you were running before you made those changes?
Yeah, I've still got some of the go again with inline strikes, rouse the ancients in the side, that sort of thing. So it's not a complete wash if I do run into them, but yeah, mostly just going for the defense reaction, swing with Winter's Wail every turn, that build.
Yep, I like that. I think that's probably the way that you want to be going. Who are you hoping you don't see, Joe? What matchup are you trying to avoid? Maybe Viz doesn't even care. He's just so nasty right now.
I think it just runs to everything, right?
I mean, I think I can stand a chance into a decent number of the matchups. It's just me personally, my playtesting, a lot of what I've seen is what Rhett and Tim are playing, which is Starvo. So I don't have a lot of the like Ice Lexi testing and things like that. So I'm gonna have to kind of just rely on gut instincts in the moment of the game and assess on hits and things like that.
Yeah.
Depending on the strategy they go with, either Oldhim or Bravo, I could maybe be a little more relaxed with, depending on the route they go with their build. If they go the route that I've play tested against Tim, it's a tough matchup.
Yeah. So for OG Bravo, what are you, if you're not too worried about that build, what are you, how do you play the deck against OG Bravo?
It would be OTK. I just build up as many rune chants as fast as I can and block out what I need to. If it's not the build I've play tested against, and it's probably the more common one, a lot of the on hits don't matter that much to OTK. Your next attack doesn't gain go again. I'm not attacking anyway. The only thing that really hurts is if it's right before you're going to combo. So really the bad one is just the Crippling Crush because you lose the cards. I find that those are easier to manage than Old because Old is just an on hit, not a crush. So if you can block out enough of the damage, you can avoid the crush and still take some damage.
Yep.
Whereas Old, I mean, 11 is hard to cover up from Starvo.
Yeah.
So, and it's just an on hit. So at that point, you just do what you can. But that's pretty much the game plan. Just assess the on hit, block with what you need to, and then make rune chance on your turn, pass.
Yeah. Yeah, Bravo is one of those that hurts Boltyn for sure. Like you said, because the on hits are just so targeted to stop whatever the opponent's going to do on the next turn. Things like, I feel like it's, Spinal's the one that stops go again, right? What's Cranial Crush?
Card draw.
Card draw, okay, yeah. So that one, I'm not too worried about that one. And some of the others, like, I'm blanking on their names.
I can't remember what it's called, but one of them, it reduces your attack power, I think, on your next attack.
Pulverize.
Yeah, Pulverize is one of the new ones. What does Thunderquake do?
The one that heaves 3. It's 8 on the blue.
It's 8, that's right. And yeah, there's no crush on that one, right?
Macho Grande is the Dominate one that some of them are running now.
Yeah. Righteous Cleansing can hurt me too sometimes. But yeah, just in general.
The Lumina.
Yeah, exactly. Or just any gas, really.
Sure.
I mean, I'm part of the problem with going up against Bravo for me is that I have to run more than just the 60 cards, and I'm doing defense reactions, like a lot of DRs. I'm not getting through my deck quite as fast because I'm having to arsenal like a 6 or a 7 DR, like if it's a Steelblade Shunter and Unmovable or something like that. So I don't get to use that slot very often because I'm just sitting on it. And having to block with a lot of cards means I'm not potentially getting to charge every turn. I might have to just like send in, like a generic 5 attack or something like that.
Right.
Which kind of stinks. And plus, like you said, with the on hits of like no go again, or sometimes pummel will hit and I have to discard a card. Those things really, really tax me. I think Guardian is one of my tougher matchups, so not looking forward to that. But I've definitely gotten a lot of testing in against these taxing decks with the ice coming from Jordan's Oldhim, and then the ice Lexis in our meta, like you said, played against them quite a bit. So we'll see. I'm trying to raise my my pitch curve a little bit too on my deck. I swapped out a couple of the reds for a couple of yellows just to cover things like Blizzard, so I can continue my go again. Stuff like that. And the on hits from some of the Lexi builds just hurt real bad too.
I'm going to ask how your matchup into that was.
Rough. It's rough for sure. It's almost just like a slight fatigue while getting cards in my soul just kind of as I can. Like block out and hope that they don't have, oh my gosh, my last matchup, they had, they drew 3 of a kind their first 3 turns of the game. I'm just like, even if I'm blocking out, they have so many cards that they can send my way If they send in like an endless arrows as the very last thing and break perch grapplers, I mean they can just keep going. So I've already like used my hand to block out. They've got endless arrows at the very last thing. Go again. They just pitch a couple blues, first couple attacks, and then come in with endless arrows over, and I can't block it. So it's like even when I block out, I'm taking a lot of damage from those turns. It's really hard. But yeah, the general strategy is just block with the fridge until they have kind of an off turn and try and have a pivot turn. Boltyn can send some pretty heavy damage back just on a regular turn, like 16 damage, 17 damage, something like that. So arsenaling the DRs for that too, though, because having the 6 blocks in Soul Shield and Steelblade Shunt are good against the on hits there, because she's got Dominate arrows and whatever the one that's got the that frostbite effect on hit, or the discard. What's that one?
Ice Vein.
Yes, yeah. Discard unless you pay 1. And the other thing that sucks about the arrows is that it's all the arrows for the turn. So if you play the Chilling Ice Vein first thing, any of the attacks on the chain for the turn have that effect. So you have to block out. But then, yeah, it's a really tough matchup for me. I struggle. I've thought about that one quite a bit, as you can tell.
And you seem to have a pretty decent fatigue strategy with your most recent build, though.
Yeah, the DERs and just the fact that Warrior blocks 3 on almost all the cards in the deck. Like, the only cards that don't block 3 in my deck are the non-light cards. And there's very few of those because I want to be charging Soul and maximizing, like, the Via the Vanguard turns.
Your defend 3 ratios is absurd for that class.
Yeah, I can usually block 12, like, every single time.
Nice.
But I'm losing cards, so against like the fatigue matchups, I have to throw all of the cards in the deck. There's barely any sideboard that sits out of the deck, so I'm running like 70 cards or more into some of those matchups.
Well, and like you say, I mean, you're just banking on them having an off turn, and then you just go to the races from there.
Yep, if I have it. What matchups are you not wanting to see, Jordan?
Like I said, Prism is the main one.
Yeah.
That one is not an auto loss, but it feels really bad right now, honestly.
But at least now it's only that one and not the others, since you had teched for her.
Right. Yeah. I think Oldham's got decent matchups into most everything. Reinhardt can give me some trouble if they're able to intimidate, honestly, for 3 or 4 turns. They can sometimes get there, but other than that, I think it's got a decent matchup into most everything that I'm hoping to find tomorrow.
Yeah. What I'm expecting to see tomorrow, I think we're going to see a lot of new Bravo. I think we're going to see Viz. I think we're going to see some Ice Lexi and maybe some Dash. Potentially Katsu, because I think decks like Katsu or Dory that are kind of unconventional but just like keep constant pressure on can be kind of tough. Boltyn can be that way too if the hands are right. My deck's a little more swingy than those. Maybe some decks like that. Out of the big 3 being Viserai, Bravo, and Prism, are you worried about Vis and Starvo?
I think it's actually got a decent Starvo matchup. Viserai, depending on what build they're on, I think I've got a better mid-range plan to them. But if they're trying to do OTK, it's kind of 50-50. It kind of just depends on the build there.
Yeah, I haven't seen the match play out. Is it just kind of like a battle between Oakenolds, Channel Lakes, Blizzard, and then some of the big attacks?
Honestly, into the OTK builds, it's all about pressuring. So I actually bring in my Rouse the Ancient plan against them and just pressure them until they have to swing in with the 9th Blade with whatever rune chance they have at the time.
Okay.
So they're not able to get 20 to 30 rune chance and then just put them all at me.
Yeah, Jordan and I have played a game together, and he knew to do that, and he's right. You put pressure on the OTK style to force him to get rid of the Skeleton early with early Sonata, or just get rid of the Rune Chant pile with a 9th Blade or something.
Yep.
And that's the same with OG Bravo. In the matchups I've played with Tim, he would be doing turns where it's like 2 red Zealous Beltings and then a Hammer Swing all in one turn, things like that. The going wide and putting pressure on is what makes it hard, because then you're losing your hand and you can't build Rune Chants with no hand. So
Yeah.
But if they're going the other route, I mean, we saw in the what was it, Australian Nationals Viserai versus Oldhim. If you're just hoping that they're gonna brick a hand and not be able to build rune chance, it's gonna go bad.
Yeah, are those the same kind of downfalls that the deck had before EVR, or have you switched things up with some of the EVR cards?
I've got some of the new cards in there. Not a ton. I would definitely like to get some Swarming Gloomveils in there. I have some coming in the mail, but unless I'm able to, I think Rhett was gonna look to see if he could get some for me for tomorrow. But if not, it's all good. Swarming Gloomveils would definitely go in there. And I've put the incantations in, the reds and the yellows.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I actually took out my yellow Read the Runes to make room for that. And so for my core, I was running the yellow mobs and the blue mobs, and then on the sideboard for the more mid-range aggro, I had the red. I took the red mobs out completely, and I put the yellows in there, so I made room for the both red and yellow incantation sets that way in the core deck. But yeah, I did swap out one Ninth Blade for a one-off Runic Reclamation. I really like Ninth Blade on the OTK turn. It's just a really big attack, especially if I can play a Oath before it and make it either a 10 or 11. But late game, seeing a Ninth Blade kind of hurts. You can't always get the rune chance and count on having the 3 blues in hand, so having the Runic in there, I like, because 3 for 7's pretty good.
Yeah.
The on hits, it's there if you have it, but you're mainly doing it for the pressure late game. But that's what I've gotten from the new set so far. There's been a lot of discussion on the global Discord about Vexing Quillhand versus Grasp of the Arcanite.
Mm-hmm.
And I see both arguments. The one argument was if you do Mordred Tide, then blow up the Quillhand, you're going to get 3 rune chance, and then play a red reed, you're going to be up to 9 rune chance already in one turn with only 2 cards. That's really, really good, but there's something about Grass where you have that 2 block and then 1 block against the Guardians, and then also just the early hand fixing before you build up a lot of rune chance. You can just pitch into it. If you stack it right, you can get rid of more cards. Get rid of red attacks first, and then I like to lean more towards Grass for the block and that pitching ability, but Vexing Quillhand is definitely something to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that one, and then I was going to ask about Revel in Runeblood also.
Revel in Runeblood, I would be surprised if you see it in an OTK deck, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it if they're going more mid-range or if they're just going all-out aggro. It might be a little biased when I first saw these cards. I knew, it was Young Hero, so my mind was on Blitz, and I saw Revel spoiled, and my mind just went to, all right, we can do aggressive Visserai and Blitz now. Because before it was OTK, but I did the Slogism OTK, where you do Slogism for free with Skeletor, and then pump up your Ninth Blade to like 15.
Yeah.
But Revel in Runeblood got me really excited for an aggressive Blitz Vis build, along with the Swarming Gloomveils. But I think you'll still see it in CC if they're going all out aggro or if they're doing more of a mid-range style. I just don't have them, so I don't have them in my build, but I might look at redoing my deck after this ProQuest and see kind of where the shortcomings were and how I could restructure my deck from there.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've seen that works really well is the Viz decks that are able to pivot from like an OTK plan if it just looks like it's going to take too long or you're not able to use a lot of cards early in the game, like because you start taking too much damage around turn 4 or 5 or something. And so you kind of have to switch to like a more mid-range aggro plan. Is your deck able to do that as well, or depending on your sideboard, are you already kind of planning based on just the matchup ahead of time?
I'm typically planning for OTK based on the matchup, but with my OTK, I feel like I've got the attacks and the right stuff in there to help with going and pivoting early if I need to, depending on how the match is going. My other sideboard is somewhat mid-range, but I try to make it aggressive because I have like Consuming Volitions in there, so I'm threatening the hand. So I try to put on a lot more pressure there than trying to be on the back foot. So I'd say the OTK package I could swing to more mid-range if I need to, but maybe not as best as some other decks that are going to be out there.
Yeah. And sorry, I cut you off before, Jordan. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was going back to Quill Hand. Do you think that's coming in against the mirror matches, or are you doing more Crown of Dichotomy for that?
I won't use it in the mirror, mainly because I do not have them. I could see the argument for either. I'm going to run the Crown of Dichotomy in the mirror, against any Runeblade, really, for the Arcane. My understanding is in the mirror match, you want to go as aggressive as you can. So I think you would want to use the Quill Hand to have those turns where you can just generate a lot of rune chants. That's one thing I really like about Vis is the rune chants act as damage, but also resources for some of the cards. So you could do a Mordred into the Quill Hand, and then you have a Rune Flash in hand that's now free instead of costing 3.
It's pretty
so
good.
It can kind of really swing around quickly. So I would think you could expect to see Quill Hands in the mirror.
How about your mirror, Jordan? We didn't talk about that.
I think I'm supposed to go aggro against them. As far as, well, no. You know, what they're gonna doing and what equipment they present to me, kind of think depends on what my game plan is. I'm seeing more of the fridge style. I think I'm going more control heavy. I see more of a Nadil Spring Tunic build, Art of War style. I think that means that I'm supposed to go more control into them.
Gotcha. What kind of toys did you pick up from EVR?
It's mostly Stalagmite and Macho Grande are my big ones. Not a whole lot of love for Oldhim. I love Nerves of Steel, Principle. This is just not the meta for it, honestly. If it was going to be mostly Katsu and Prism style matchups, I would consider that card a whole lot more, but now even into the dash matchups, if they get one Purifier out, it basically just blanks Nerves, so that card's still in the back of my head right now, but just not the time for it right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. How are you feeling about Stalagmite over Ram's Head?
That is mostly just the Tyrune Blade card for me right now. That matchup, especially if they're doing OTK style, I want to be able to pressure their attacks for free, putting any resources into it, and Stalagmite just does that a lot better than Ram's Head does, especially if they're not breaking the chain like OTK style is.
Yeah. Are you coming after me with that Stalagmite?
I think our matchup is actually a little more grindy, so I think for you, I'm still bringing in the Ram's Head.
Okay. Yeah, I'd prefer if you did that too. That way I don't get a whole lot of frostbites, and maybe I can shatter it at some point. I dig that.
Yeah, no, not excited about that at all.
That's the only good card I got, though, man. So I've noticed some people are switching to Helm just to try and YOLO off the top of the deck for Boltyn, but I don't know that I can do it. I think the 3 block out of Skullcap is just better, and I kind of don't want to carve out more sideboard space in my deck. But Shatter, I've definitely got one Shatter in there just for you. It's got your name on it.
I was going to ask how Shatter's been for you so far.
Yeah, I just wrote Jordan on the back of the card, and that's really my only matchup I bring it in for. Yeah, it's. I think the matchup against you and Starvo might be the main matchups I bring in Shatter for. Bravo, not really worried about seeing Shield. And then a lot of the other decks I don't think have equipment that would block regularly enough on something that is an attack other than Raiden that I'd really have to worry about it. So it's nice that it pitches for yellow if I just need like a card to throw in my deck because I need more cards. It's fine, I guess, but probably not really going to do that in matchups other than Oldhim and Starvo.
If you're able to take out Crown and Starvo, you set them back quite a bit, honestly.
Well, I don't know that I can do Crown, right? Because it doesn't actually come on the chain. Is it considered blocking?
Oh, I forgot that it was on the chain.
Yeah, it
That's
says,
unfortunate.
so the wording on it is blocking equipment. So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, it can be blocking Raiden, but Raiden just has to do, well, specifically a two-handed weapon has to be doing some amount of damage that is greater than whatever a blocking equipment that I want to destroy is current damage is at. So
Yeah.
So if your shield is even at like 1 or 2, and 1 or 2 is coming over from Raiden, and your shield's on the chain, then I can break that. But I don't think Crown actually ever gets on the chain. It just soaks a damage, so I don't know if it's like defending technically.
Unless they're
Right.
doing a Forge for War build, which I'm not seeing a whole lot of that right now. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate. I thought it was just any equipment with 0 block on it, but yeah, I guess you still got Ram set for that.
Yep. What about Joe? Are you worried about seeing any arcane lanterns out there? What's like the AB count that you don't want to see? I'm guessing like AB 1 or 2 is probably still okay from your opponent, but
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, if they're running more like null rune and things like that, for whatever reason they have, say, null rune boots and gloves and then Arc Knight skull cap. Depending on the build, I might feel okay because they're potentially sacrificing things that their deck wants to do just to block my arcane. And in the OTK strat, typically not gonna be able to block at all anyway. But I know there's some equipment. I think Dash's boots have arcane barrier, so equipment like that, where it's already got the arcane on it and it's what they want in their deck. 2 is not something I want to see because I want my Rosetta to hit and things like that. But I don't know. Most people are going to be running skull cap, so I think they'll be able to block it out anyway. I think anything more than like 1 piece of arcane barrier and then a skull cap would be more hurtful to their deck, unless it's just some equipment that has it already, like Vexing Quill Hand has it. But if they're swapping Null Rune out, I think they're hurting themselves a bit more.
yeah, I think so. Skullcap, I run Skullcap, and that's not really something I ever pitch to for the arcane barrier. It's usually just there for the 3 block. Like I'm going to block something earlier in the game if I'm lesser life for 2, and then if I'm still less life later in the game, I can squeeze another 1 out of it. But I really don't want to have to pitch 3 just to get AB3 off of it. So I'm more likely to swap that out for like Null Rune Hood and just have AB1 at the ready. But yeah, I totally agree. If I was going to give up like my arm slot or something for the Null Rune gloves so that I had hood and gloves, AB2 is really nice, but I'm sacrificing physical block and potentially whatever ability is on the gloves just to be able to do that. So yeah,
I've threatened to close out games often with Vexing Malice, even just the blue, because blocking 1 isn't something you typically want to have to do. But then just the 2 arcane for 1 is really good. And late game, if I need to, I can sometimes dig it out with the Rattlebones and try and threaten to close out the game that way.
Yeah.
So seeing the 2 arcane barriers where I don't like to see that at that point. But yeah, I've kind of just come to expect that they're going to be running 2 at this point.
yeah. So Kano is another consideration for running AB2. I don't know how much of that we're going to see. I think because, like you said, some of the matchups like Dash and other heroes that just have Arcane Barrier on their good equipment already might make the Kano players kind of rethink what they're going to play for ProQuest. We might not have to worry about it, but yeah, what do you guys think? Are we going to see Kano?
I was going to ask if you were assuming that people were going to make the ballsy switch into Kano for this.
There's going to be, I think, like 60-some people already signed up for this one. I'm thinking there's probably going to be 70. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2.
I talked to Mike last night. He's apparently at 71 slots, and he thinks there are going to be some stragglers tomorrow. So it sounds like we're going to have a full house.
Nice.
I mean, just based on numbers, I'd expect to see at least 1 just to try and catch people off guard.
Sure.
Tim and I were actually talking about that, I think yesterday or Thursday. Just Dory, just showing up. You hope that people are newer to the game and didn't have the experience with Dory at the beginning when she was more prevalent. And then they just underblock, not thinking about how tall it can go. And then just seeing if you can get by quite a few rounds just from people's lack of experience on it.
It's not a bad strategy. I mean, everybody's focused on Starvo right now and probably doesn't have the defense reactions for Dory.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dory's one of those matchups I considered keeping the hybrid sabers in my deck for Dory and Katsu, but I think the level or the amount of those heroes that we're going to see might be so low it just won't be a problem.
Right.
I mean, I can throw a bunch of cards in front of a Dawnblade that I think is about to, reprise me to death or something, and just, arsenal those defense reactions, come in with a beacon at the end of the game for +6 or 7 or whatever and catch them off guard. So I don't know that I'm too worried about it. I think a Dory build that's on axes, I might be worried about a little bit more, just because they can put that go wide pressure on me probably almost as effectively as I can on them. So that one is just almost like a straight race, and it's going to be really tough to beat if I have to throw those defense reactions in my deck as well, because that's just going to dilute me being able to go fast. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I would be surprised if we see a Dory and it's not running axes tomorrow. There's just been so much buzz about that. I've heard a lot.
It sounds like it's making a comeback.
I think it was Hometown TCG YouTube channel. I think they just did a deck tech on Dory axes. I'm not 100%, but I think I saw it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Team Covenant had one against Starvo too.
How did that matchup go? Did they show like gameplay?
Did. I wasn't able to finish that part. I was mostly in the discussion for Starvo was in testing for them. I didn't actually see the matchup itself, but apparently it looked pretty solid on the comments that I saw of it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the go wide aggro decks that can really just keep pressure on Starvo are going to catch him, especially on those turns where he doesn't have open hold or is not able to fuse his ability to get that go again. So
yeah, if you get him to the point that he's blocking, he's probably not in for a good time.
Have you guys seen a dash into Starvo matchup?
I haven't, but I have a feeling if they are on the troll package with trying to get the purifiers and everything out, I think that's the route you want to go. Don't think the boost version races Starvo all that well.
Right. I'm really curious about how Dash is going to do in ProQuest.
that's the version that I've seen the most, not the boost version.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that too. Do you know anybody who's running it here tomorrow?
I don't. I've just looking at the new cards and things, and I saw one video where it was a dash. It seemed a little bit both, where they were doing control and boosting, but it was dash into the new, more aggressive Viserai. They had the Revels and the Swarming Gloom Veils and things like that. And at one point in the video, the Vis player was at 40 and the Dash player was at 16, I think. The Dash player ended up pulling out the win. Just because long game, Dash is blocking and pitching blues, and then you just load up and then fire a couple times and then just turtle up again. Maybe I'm a little biased. I think Dash could do pretty well into the ProQuest with the right build, especially with, what was it? The radars, or signal jammer, I think it was, where you can't play non-attacks. That doesn't really hurt them, and that destroys Runeblade. And then also, was it Dissolution Sphere, where it prevents instances of 1 damage. That turns off the Spectral Shields, it turns off the Rune Chance. If you block enough to where you're only going to take 1, it essentially gets rid of your breakpoints. I could see Dash doing pretty well if people try and go that route to catch others off guard.
Yeah. Especially if they have 1 and 2 turns of that item coming in against you. Yeah, that seems pretty bad for your strategy.
Yeah.
Well, I hope all the Dash players see Viz early tomorrow. And then if I make it till late in the day, I hope I see all the Dash players.
There you go.
That would be great.
If you'll just take all the Prism and the Dash players out of my radar, that'd be great. Thank you, Will.
I'll do what I can. I think Dash does really well against Prism too, right? Because if they're on the Aura build, they can just fire at Prism all except for like their last gunshot or whatever, and then shoot an Aura at the end of the turn. Seems pretty good.
They have a solid matchup in the Prism too.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I haven't seen. I'll have to go check that out. I'm curious now. What do you guys think about Chain? Is there going to be some chains present in our ProQuest tomorrow? You think so?
I don't know how many of the new cards they'd run. I think definitely Swarming Gloomveil, just because it's a 0 and it's very easy to give it go again. Mm-hmm. He doesn't pop out as many rune chances as this, but Soul Shackle counts as an aura. So are your Sting of Sorceries, that's an aura. You play that for your go wide turns. It's already got go again on it. If you've Soul Shackled, it'll have go again in +4. Or sorry, +1. +4 would be great, but I don't know how many of the other new cards a chain would run because of the whole no blood debt, but I would be surprised if they didn't run Gloomveil. But I think chain's popular enough there will be at least a handful there.
What's the Viz strategy into chain?
So I don't have a ton of testing into it. I've looked into chats, and according to the chat, it's more aggressive style because they're not wanting to block as much, or if they do, then they're relying more on their banish to play. I did test play one game against Chain. Tim borrowed Rhett's old Chain list. I went OTK into it, and instead of waiting for the Sonata, I just turtled up as best I could, built up the rune chants, and then found the right time to just attack and send all the rune chants down. It was a close game. I think I pulled out the win, but it was real. It wasn't an automatic win or anything. So I'll try and go aggressive just because that's what I saw in the Discord, and the OTK was pretty close. It wasn't an automatic, so we'll try aggro and see how it does. Yeah. Especially with the Plunder Run being gone now, it makes it... Because I think that playtest was before Plunder Run was banned.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious to see how it does. I don't know. I think we're going to see maybe 25% of the Runeblade be Chain. I think most of it's going to be Viz. I would be surprised if we see more than like 2 Briars at this point. Maybe there will be a few, but yeah, I think there's definitely going to be at least more Chains than Briars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more Viserai, Chain, and then Briar in that order.
70 people though. Who knows? Maybe we'll see a bunch.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of people.
On that
Definitely.
note, what are people thinking the ratios are going to be tomorrow?
I was about to say, I think it's going to be probably 40-45% Guardian, maybe 30-ish, 35 Runeblade, and then, let's see, 20-ish like Prism, and then like a hodgepodge for the remainders. Maybe some dashes, some Lexis, things like that.
More Runeblade than Prism?
I think the Runeblade matchup into Prism is okay because the shields are going to be taken care of by rune chants when you're coming in, being more aggressive. You definitely don't go TK into Prism because you don't want them to build up their auras. But yeah, if you just pressure damage, I think it's going to be hard for them to keep spectral shields up. But I guess I can't say the same for Chain. I don't know how that'll work out. But I think there's going to be a lot of this players.
Yeah. How many Reinhardts? That's the real question.
I want to say at least like 2 or 3 are going to be there.
Did they get good stuff in Everfest?
I don't think so. I think they got Swing Big or Big Swing. That might be the only really good one that they got. Skull Crushers, the equipment. I think maybe some people will be trying that out. That's the one where you get bonuses based on if you roll 5 or 6s, I think. And then if you roll a 1, you destroy it.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're getting rid of Gambler's Gloves, though. That one just seems way too important for them.
A free roll, yeah. It's I don't know. That whole build is way too RNG for me.
Yeah, not my style at all.
I can see why people love it, for sure. I mean, you're doing big stuff, but yeah, I
Just
don't know.
live and die by those scab skins, though.
Yeah.
Not about it.
There's a card that lets them roll 2 dice and you pick the highest, right? I don't remember what that one's called.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember either. But yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
think
might
they
see a
probably
couple
load
of
as many
those.
of those as they can.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep looking at my sideboard for 24 hours and just obsessing over this. How about you guys?
Oh, same. Yeah.
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 Sweet.
I've got
deal.
a reminder on my phone, like just a checklist. All right, don't forget your deck. Check your card sleeves. Make sure you don't need to replace any. Get the dice, paper, pen, snacks, water.
Deck registration. Deck registration is an important one too. I'm guessing they'll probably have paper there for us to do it tomorrow. You can, I think FabDB, one of the sites has a way for you to export your list in like the registration form in like a PDF
I'm gonna
or
do
something
mine.
like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do mine in the store just in case I'm able to pick up some Gloom Veils. And then if not, just I can crank it out real quick.
Nice.
But I don't want to bank on it and then not have them.
Yeah.
Sure.
True. Well, cool. I think that'll be it. I'll try and find some time to edit this bad boy in the middle of all my sideboard obsessing the next 24 hours. See if we can kick it out there quickly. Appreciate you coming on with us, Joe. It's
Yeah,
been
thanks
good
for
to
having
have
me.
you. Yeah, for sure. We'll see you probably in another episode coming up pretty soon. We'll have to follow up after this week and see what your thoughts were.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
If you get some pro play under your feet.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Be a good time.
All right,
Yeah.
guys, and for
yeah.
your listeners, thank you for listening today. This is the first one that's on YouTube, so hope you enjoyed it. Check us out on the usuals, Insta, Twitter, everywhere you do your socializing. We'll see you there. Until next time.
Everyone.
Have a good one.